Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jag, and in today's class we're going to continue with our maths and contents, and what we're going to cover today is a little bit about trinomial factoring, and we're going to try some questions from the homework book here. Okay, so with that, let's get started. Alright, so I'm going to pick a couple of questions here. Okay, let's start off with something simple. Okay, so let's try this question here. Okay, so it says x squared plus 6x plus 5. Okay, the questions always say factor if possible. Okay, so that means if you're not able to factor out this trinomial, you're just going to write not possible. Okay, all right, so what you're going to do is, I'm looking at this trinomial. So remember, the word tri, or the prefix tri, means 3. That's why I have 3 terms here separated by the positive signs. Okay, the product, so I'm going to write it out the first time here. The product is going to be equal to this last number. Okay, so this last number is 5, and the sum is going to equal to 6. Okay, and so 6 is basically that number that is there in between. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're looking for factors of 5. Okay, so let me make a line here. So two numbers, when you multiply it, it should give you 5. Okay, when you add it together, it should give you 6. Okay, the only factors for 5 I notice is 5 times 1, all right, which is equal to 5. And then when you add it together, I could do 5 plus 1, which is equal to 6. Okay, does everyone see that? All right, so I know my two factors are 5, so 5 and 1, and they both are positive here. So what we're going to do is keep the first term the same like this, so x squared. Then you're going to write down your two factors. So I'm going to put plus 5x plus 1x plus 5. Okay, again, it doesn't really matter, okay, which order you want to write the factors in. That's not going to make a difference here. What we're going to do is group factor, okay, these two terms together. So the first two terms and then the last two terms. Okay, so if you look at the first two terms, I have x squared plus 5x. I'm going to take out the x here, and inside the brackets, just write down what's left over. Okay, so I'm left with x plus 5. Okay, and that's only for the first two terms. Okay, whatever factor you take outside, I'm just taking the terms and I'm dividing it by that common factor. Okay, so let's go to the next term here. So I notice it's 1x plus 5, or just x plus 5. I can't take anything out. There isn't a common factor. Okay, which doesn't mean it's equal to 0. You're just going to take out a 1. And I'm left with x plus 5. Okay, does everyone see that? Okay, the two factors are going to be what's on the inside. I notice x plus 5 inside the brackets is the same, and it's always supposed to be the same. Okay, so say I actually did factor this out, and I got x plus 5 here, and in the other bracket it was x minus 5. That means your answer is incorrect. Okay, so you should go back and check your factors one more time. All right, so I have two factors. Again, the first factor is going to be x plus 5, because the common factor inside the brackets. And the second one is what's on the outside. Let me underline it. X plus 1, which is outside the brackets, and that is going to be my second factor. Does everyone see that? Okay, so my final answer is going to be x plus 5 in brackets and x plus 1. Okay, are there any questions? Good, let's try another example. Okay, I'm going to take one from the book here. I will maybe just erase one side. Okay, and let's leave the product and sum here. Okay, so let's try this question here. Okay, so let's do m squared. Okay, something that is slightly different. Okay, and you actually have to find factors here. Plus 8m. Let's do plus 15. Okay, so this time again, I'm looking at the product is going to be the last number, which is 15. So we'll put 15 here. Okay, and the sum is always the middle number. So the middle number here is equal to 8. So we're doing some simple examples, okay, where the signs are both positive here. And then we'll try an example where I'm going to change the sign to negative, okay, because that does make a difference. Okay, so here I'm going to take some factors of 15. So the first thing that comes to mind is 5 times 3, which is equal to 15. And when you add it together, the sum has to equal to 8. So I'm going to do 5 plus 3, which is equal to positive 8. Okay, so again, I have to satisfy both the product and the sum, okay, for these trinomials. All right, and these are simple trinomials because I noticed there's nothing in front here of the m squared. Okay, so I have my two numbers and factors. It's 5 and 3. Both are positive, okay, so you're going to keep the m squared the same. Okay, and with your factors, what you're doing is just breaking down this middle term. Okay, so I'm going to do plus 5m plus 3m. And you notice the last term, which is 15, I'm going to keep that the same as well. So plus 15. Okay, so again, if you just notice, the first and the very last term, I'm keeping the same. Okay, so if you just, I'll just underline it. Does everyone see that? Okay, and it has to be in this middle step. So now we're going to group factor it. I always just make like lines, okay, between the two factors so you don't get mixed up. Okay, so I have m squared plus 5m. Let's take out a common factor. Okay, so I notice both of them have m here. I'm going to take the m outside, and for the first two terms, I'm basically just dividing both of the terms by m. Okay, so I'm left with m plus 5. You notice how this is 5m, and I took the m outside, so I'm only left with the 5. Okay, everyone's okay? So let's go to the second term here. I have 3m plus 15. I'm going to take out this common term or factor here, which is 3, because I can divide both of these by 3. So I'm left with m, and then I'm doing 15 divided by 3, which is equal to 5. So m plus 5. Do you see that? And again, like a mental check, I'm looking inside the brackets, and I notice I have m plus 5 inside both the brackets. Okay, so I know my answer is correct here. Okay, so the two factors, what's on the inside, I have m plus 5. Okay, so that's going to be a common factor. And then what's on the outside, I notice I have m plus 3. And this is my final answer. Okay, I have m plus 5 and m plus 3. Okay, any questions there? All right, good. So let's try one example here. Okay, and we're going to try changing the signs around. Okay, so it might be just a little bit tricky. Okay, let's take an example here. Okay, from the textbook. Okay, we'll keep the product and sum on the board here. So let's try this one. Okay, so n squared minus 10n, okay, plus 16. Okay, does everyone see that? So when we do this question this time, okay, I noticed that there is a negative sign here. Okay, the product is going to be the last number, which is 16. Okay, and the sum is going to be negative 10. Okay, it's very important that you are looking at the signs here. Okay, let's take some factors of 16. So I'm going to do 8 times 2, which is 16. Okay, however, when you notice, and I'm adding these together, if I do 8 plus 2, that is equal to positive 10. Okay, however, I want the sum of my two factors to equal to negative 10. Okay, if you notice here, if I make both of my factors negative, so I'm going to do negative 8 plus negative 2, which is negative 10. Okay, so just like this. And I know the factors, like both of them have to be negative here, because when I do negative 8 times negative 2, it's equal to positive 16. Okay, so unlike the first two examples we did here, where we only had some positive values to deal with, in this case I notice it's negative. Okay, so my two factors here are actually negative 8 and negative 2. Okay, so let's break it down. I'm going to keep the n squared the same, like that. Okay, and then I'm going to break this down. So I have negative 8n minus 2n plus 16. Okay, so again, the last term is going to stay the same, as well as the first term. Okay, is everyone okay so far? You notice that this is the decomposition method, and I notice that it's exactly the same. Okay, the only thing I have to kind of worry about is in terms of the signs. Okay, just double check it. So we're going to just group together these two terms. Okay, the first two terms and the last two terms. Okay, so in the first two terms I have n squared minus 8n. I'm going to take the n outside. Okay, and again, look at the first two terms and what is left over. So I'm left with n minus 8. Okay, because I'm not taking anything out from the 8, I'm only taking out the variable. Alright, and let's go to the second two terms. If you see a negative sign like this, you should take the negative outside. So I'm going to take out 2. Alright, and again, if you're not sure what to take out, okay, I'm just looking at the 2 and the 16, and I notice I can divide both of them by 2. Okay, and that's the reason I took it outside. And I'm left with n minus 8. Okay, so if you look in the second brackets here, okay, I put negative 8. You notice I didn't write n plus 8 here because I can see if I do negative 2 times negative 8, it's equal to positive 16. Okay, even if I did write n plus 8, I can compare it to like the first brackets there, which is n minus 8. So I can see that I don't have the correct factors. Okay, so again, the signs are very important. Just keep that in mind. Okay, so equals. Okay, so now we're going to just take our common factors. Okay, so the first common factor here is n minus 8. Okay, which is inside the brackets. Okay, and then the second factor is going to be n minus 2. Okay, which I see outside the brackets here. Okay, so this is how I actually factor it out. Okay, you can always use the FOIL method to check your answer as well. Okay, and make sure that you are getting the correct answer. Okay, are there questions there or any concerns? Okay, that looks good. All right, so with that, let's try one last example here. Okay, so I'm going to just take this off. Okay, and again, we're going to try an example, okay, where we're using some negative signs. Okay, because that's actually the most important, okay, and that's where the teacher will try and trick you. Okay, we have to very clearly look at the signs, okay, that we're using here. All right, so let's try. These ones are kind of the same. Okay, so I want to try an example that looks slightly different. Okay, so let's maybe try this one. Okay, so I have a squared minus 5a. Okay, and then minus 24. Okay, so in this question, you notice, okay, so in the last example, we had one negative and one positive number. And here I can notice both the signs are negative, okay? So the product is going to be negative 24. And the sum is negative 5. Okay, we're going to take some factors of 24. 24 has quite a few factors. Okay, so what I want to use here is, let's try 8 times 3, which is 24. And the reason I picked 8 and 3 is I know that I can get a sum of 5 somehow, okay, in terms of the difference here. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the signs. Now, one of the signs has to be a negative here because I want to get negative 24. Okay, the best way to do that is when you're looking at this middle term, you see how it's negative? So in this case, I know that the 8 has to be negative because the 8 is the bigger number. Okay, so there is a little bit of integers that is going on here. Okay, make sure you review the rules for integers. If I do negative 8 plus positive 3, I notice it's equal to negative 5. Okay, again, even if you do switch around the signs, just check it on your calculator. All right, so in this final example, I noticed that one of the factors is negative and one of them is positive. Okay, so let's break it down. I have a squared minus 8a plus 3a, and I'm keeping my last term the same, so it's minus 24. Any questions there? Okay, good. So let's group these together. Okay, and I'm going to take out a common factor. Okay, so I have a squared minus 8a. I'm going to take the a outside, and I'm left with a minus 8. Does everyone see that? Okay, go to the next two terms here. Okay, I'm going to take out the 3 because I notice I can divide both of these numbers by 3. And again, what I'm left with is going to be a minus 8. Okay, and I'm doing actually negative 24 divided by 3 here, and it's equal to negative 8. Okay, so that's another way that you can kind of look at it. If you just want to use your calculator, that's fine as well. Okay, so my two factors here are going to be a minus 8, which is on the inside, it's a common factor. Another factor is whatever's on the outside. Okay, so I have a plus 3. Okay, so just like this. And again, if you're really good at just doing the FOIL method, I can just mentally check my answer here. Okay, I'm just multiplying each of these terms. So this is a times a squared. I'm doing a times 3, which is positive 3a. Negative 8 times a, which is negative 8a. And you're going to add the like terms together here. Okay, let's maybe write it down right here. So a squared, we had plus 3a minus 8a. Okay, and then lastly, we're going to multiply negative 8 times positive 3. So negative 24. Okay, everyone see that? All right. And I notice I have the like terms here, which are the a's. So I can just put that together. So a squared, okay, you're doing 3 minus 8, which is negative 5a minus 24. Okay, does everyone see that? Okay, so what we did was just use the FOIL method to expand this out. Okay, and I notice, let's box that it's giving me what I originally started off with. Okay, so I'm going to box it down here. It has to be exactly the same because again, when you are factoring and using these factoring methods, I'm not actually changing the expression itself. Okay, I'm just factoring it into like a different composition. Okay, but it doesn't change the expression. All right. Okay, so that looks good. Okay, so if there are no questions, that brings this video to an end. And thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And I will see everyone in the next video. Thanks. Bye.